Imagine waking up to find your life savings gone, wiped out by someone you trusted. Today, we're breaking down the 5 biggest financial scams in history and how you can avoid becoming the next victim. These scams destroyed billions in lives, but every single one had warning signs. Let's learn to spot those red flags before it's too late. Let's rewind to the roaring 1920s, a time of jazz, economic optimism, and rapid change. Cities were booming, fortunes were being made overnight, and people everywhere were hungry for opportunity. In this era of hope and ambition, a man named Charles Ponzi stepped onto the scene, promising something almost unbelievable. Charles Ponzi, an Italian immigrant with a charming smile and a gift for persuasion, claimed he could deliver investors a staggering 50% return in just 45 days. Word spread like wildfire. Imagine doubling your money in less than 2 months. It sounded like the golden ticket everyone had been waiting for. People from all walks of life lined up outside his office, clutching their hard-earned savings, desperate for a piece of the action. Some brought their life savings, others borrowed from friends and family, all swept up in the excitement and promise of easy wealth. But behind the scenes, Ponzi wasn't investing in anything real. Instead, he was simply shuffling money from new investors to pay off the earlier ones. There were no secret investments, no clever financial strategies, just a constant need for fresh cash to keep the illusion alive. This is what we now call the classic Ponzi scheme. No real profits, just an elaborate illusion built on trust and hope. The money wasn't growing, it was just being recycled, passed from one hopeful investor to the next. For months, Ponzi looked like a financial genius. He lived lavishly, drove fancy cars, and became a celebrity almost overnight. People saw his success and wanted to believe it was real. Newspapers praised him as a visionary, and the crowds outside his office only grew larger. The more people invested, the more legitimate the scheme appeared. It was a self-feeding frenzy. But beneath the surface, the math never worked. There was no way to sustain such high returns without real profits. The numbers simply didn't add up, and a few sharp-eyed accountants began to ask questions. When new investors stopped coming, the whole scheme collapsed almost overnight. Panic spread, offices closed, and people realized the truth. They had been duped. Thousands lost everything. Homes, savings, and dreams for the future vanished in an instant. The fallout was devastating, leaving families in ruin and trust in financial institutions shattered. The lesson? If someone guarantees high, consistent returns with little or no risk, that's your first red flag. Real investments always carry some risk, and no one can promise you the moon without a catch. Real investments go up and down. Nothing is certain, especially not 50% in 45 days. Markets fluctuate, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling a fantasy, not a financial product. If you can't understand where the money comes from, or if the explanation seems vague or overly complicated, walk away. Transparency is key. If it's missing, so is your safety. Don't be blinded by hope or popularity. Scammers thrive on herd mentality. When everyone is rushing in, it's often a sign to pause and think twice. Ponzi's name lives on as a warning. Easy money is almost always a trap. His legacy reminds us that greed and gullibility can be a dangerous combination. Before you invest, pause and ask tough questions. Do your homework, seek advice from trusted sources, and never rush into anything just because it sounds exciting. Don't let excitement override your judgment. Take your time, read the fine print, and remember that patience is often your best friend in the world of investing. Once the music stops, it's the last people in line who pay the highest price. Don't let yourself be left holding the bag when the scheme unravels. Remember, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Stay vigilant, trust your instincts, and protect your future from the next too good to be true promise. Fast forward to the bustling heart of Wall Street in the 2000s. a place where fortunes are made and lost in the blink of an eye, and where the world's financial elite gather to shape the global economy. The energy is electric, the stakes are high, and trust is the currency that keeps everything moving. In the midst of this financial whirlwind stood Bernie Madoff, a man whose name was synonymous with success and integrity. He was a respected financial figure, admired by peers and trusted by clients. But behind the polished image and the calm demeanor, Madoff was orchestrating the largest Ponzi scheme in history, one that would ultimately shatter countless lives. Madoff's pitch was simple yet irresistible. He promised steady, impressive returns year after year, regardless of how the market performed. Investors were drawn in by the allure of consistent profits, believing they had found a safe haven in a world of financial uncertainty. But the reality was far more sinister. There were no real trades happening behind the scenes, just a web of fake statements, forged numbers, and new money being used to pay off old promises. The entire operation was built on deception, with layer upon layer of lies designed to keep the illusion alive. People from all walks of life trusted Madoff, not just because of his impressive track record, but because of his reputation and powerful connections. He moved in elite circles, attended exclusive events, and seemed to have the golden touch. Even the regulators, those tasked with protecting investors, missed the warning signs. Despite multiple red flags and repeated tips, the authorities failed to uncover the truth until it was too late. The lesson here is clear and sobering. Never rely on reputation alone, no matter how impressive it may seem. Even the most trusted figures can betray that trust. Always take the time to verify, check registrations, dig into the details, and do your own research. Diversify your investments and never put all your eggs in one basket, no matter how tempting the opportunity. If something feels off, don't ignore your instincts. Trust your gut. Ask for documentation, and demand clear answers to your questions. If you're ever told that an investment is too complicated for you to understand, or that you should just trust the experts, consider that a major red flag. Transparency is non-negotiable. Madoff's scheme fooled even the smartest, most experienced investors, hedge fund managers, celebrities, and financial professionals. No one is immune to deception when it's wrapped in the right package. Don't let social proof, the opinions of others, or the presence of famous names sway your judgment. Just because everyone else is investing doesn't mean it's safe. When Madoff's house of cards finally collapsed in 2008, the devastation was massive and far-reaching. Charities were wiped out, retirements vanished overnight, and countless lives were thrown into turmoil. The ripple effects were felt around the world. All of this happened because people placed their trust in someone who seemed above suspicion, someone who appeared to have all the answers. So ask questions, demand transparency, and don't be afraid to walk away if something doesn't add up. Your financial future is too important to leave in someone else's hands without scrutiny. Remember, your skepticism is your best protection. It's not cynicism. It's wisdom born from the hard lessons of the past. Don't be dazzled by credentials, fancy offices, or big promises. True trust in finance must be earned, not assumed. In the world of finance, vigilance and due diligence are your strongest allies. Trust, but always verify, because your future depends on it. Enron was once America's most innovative company, until it all unraveled. Executives hid massive debts off the books, manipulating financial statements to show endless growth. Investors saw only what Enron wanted them to see. When skeptics raised concerns, they were ignored or silenced. The lesson: transparency matters. If a company's finances are too complex to understand, that's a warning sign. Good businesses welcome scrutiny. Bad ones hide behind jargon. Enron's collapse wiped out billions and shattered trust. Don't be fooled by hype or big names. Dig deeper and ask tough questions. Simplicity and transparency are your best friends in investing. The 2008 mortgage crisis nearly took down the global economy. It was a moment when the world watched in disbelief as some of the most powerful financial institutions teetered on the edge of collapse. The shockwaves were felt everywhere, from the heart of Wall Street to small towns across the globe. People who had trusted banks with their life savings suddenly found themselves questioning everything they thought they knew about money and security. Banks handed out risky loans, often to people who couldn't afford them, bundled them as safe investments, and sold them worldwide. These complex financial products were marketed as low risk, but in reality, they were ticking time bombs. The paperwork piled up, and the true risks were buried under layers of jargon and optimism. When homeowners defaulted, the whole system collapsed. Millions lost homes, jobs, and savings. Families were uprooted, communities were shattered, and the ripple effects led to a global recession. The pain was real and widespread, affecting people from all walks of life. The lesson? Never assume big institutions are safe just because they're big. Size doesn't guarantee stability, and even the most established names can falter when greed and poor oversight take over. Complexity can hide risk. If you don't understand an investment, think twice. Sometimes, the more complicated something seems, the more likely it is that the risks are being hidden from view. Don't be afraid to admit when something doesn't make sense. Regulators and rating agencies can miss warning signs, so do your own homework. Even the experts can get it wrong, and sometimes, the people who are supposed to protect you are caught off guard themselves. Diversify your investments. Never put everything in one basket. Spreading your money across different assets can help protect you if one area takes a hit. It's a simple rule, but one that's easy to forget when times seem good. Ask questions and be wary of high returns with little explanation. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Don't be afraid to challenge the experts and demand clear answers. The 2008 crisis was a wake-up call. Trust, but verify. Blind faith in the system can be dangerous. It's up to each of us to stay informed and vigilant, especially when it comes to our own money. Don't confuse complexity with security. Just because something is wrapped in technical language doesn't mean it's safe. In fact, it might be a sign to dig deeper. The more layers and jargon, the more likely something's being hidden. Transparency is key. If you can't get a straight answer, consider it a red flag. Your financial future is too important to leave in someone else's hands. Take the time to educate yourself, ask tough questions, and make decisions that are right for you and your family. In a world where trust can be shaken overnight, being proactive is your best defense. Today, technology fuels a new wave of scams, crypto and investment platform collapses. Headlines scream about lost fortunes and vanished exchanges. The crypto world is fast, exciting, and often unregulated. That's the danger. Many platforms promise huge returns, but some are just digital Ponzi schemes. Once your money's gone, it's often gone for good. Red flag guaranteed returns in a new, unproven market. Check for real security, transparency, and regulation. Don't trust influencers or anonymous accounts. Do your own research. Never invest money you can't afford to lose. Hype isn't a substitute for substance. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. In this new frontier, skepticism and self-education are your best defense. The big lesson from all these scams? It's that anyone can fall victim if they're not careful. Greed and blind trust are dangerous traps that can cost you dearly. Stay informed, stay skeptical, and always ask questions before making decisions. Protect your money. No one else will do it for you. You don't need to be a financial expert, just a careful and attentive listener. Your financial future is in your hands. Keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and never stop learning.